of you for making the KS Fest as it stands today, which my friend Anand had once said is more like a boutique festival, and I think it is that. Thank you very much for extending all your help to this. The first two festivals were held when Mr. Khushwant Singh was still around, and he could not attend them. And for the first fest he had sent a message which I had read out, and some of you who did attend that fest also would recall. And I'm going to read out that little, very small, brief message again. Quote, "I'm sorry I cannot be with you physically at the literary festival you have named after me. I'm 97 years old and find it difficult to walk unaided, but I'm very much with you in spirit. You have made an excellent, wonderful choice of Kasauli as your venue and of the Kasauli club where I played a lot of tennis and squash. Much of my productive and creative time has been spent in Kasauli in my home, Raj Villa, which is very close to the club here. I love the hills, the valleys, the trees, the flowers, the birds and the wildlife. Sadly, much of the wildlife is gone. I used to regularly see panthers running themselves on a path, deer, pheasants, even the golden eagle. They are becoming very rare sights now, and I would urge all of you who are gathered there today to try and restore Kasauli to its old glory. I'm sure, Mr. Khushwant Singh, wherever you be today, you are keeping a fatherly and a kindly eye on all of us as we try and restore Kasauli and its environment to its past glory. And I'm sure each one of you who love Kasauli, who come up year after year for your holidays, for the Lit Fest, most of you also have now your summer homes out here. I'm sure you will all contribute to that through the Khushwant Singh Foundation, which looks after two basic, besides the festival, it does look after on the environment and secondly the education of the girl child. Khushwant Singh passed away over 3 years ago. He was 99, physically frail but mentally alert and clear-minded. In fact, I met him just 2 days before he passed away, and he talked to me on various things, and the first thing he said to me was, "Bat." So I sat next to him, and the first thing he said, "What is this I hear about you?" So he said, "What?" He says, "You still don't have a lover in your life?" So I was quite dazed, because in all the years that I'd known him, he had never said something to me like that. So I just said, "But who's been telling you all this?" He says, "Well, I have my sources, and all of them tell me that they see you everywhere, they meet you very, very often, but you're always alone. I'm concerned for you." And then he recited a Persian couplet which loosely translated into English meant, "A single man who has no lover is no man at all." Well, that was Khushwant, always thoughtful and caring for whom he wanted to, of whom he knew, and always till the last day talking about love, lovers and many other things. But during his last years, I used to meet him pretty often, he was rather pained at the growing intolerance and the rise of fundamentalism in the country. That particular evening he told me, he said, "Please do pay attention at your festival to this disturbing trend and discuss how it can be countered for the sake of not just our generation, but for the future generations as well." In fact, I wonder, and Rahul and I were talking the other day, in fact, Mr. Arun Shourie is here and some other friends. And last night we were talking with Mr. Shatrughan Sinha, who is here, Shobha Day and all the others, as to what he would have thought about subjects like the triple talaq today, the right to privacy, the beef eating ban, the conviction of the so-called saints, like you know whom I mean. But whatever his comments may have been, there would have been quite a lot of laughter in that also. We all know that he ridiculed the so-called godmen, the ammas and the babas and the swamis. I still remember once the SGPC wrote a very stern letter to him, and it said, please stop your jokes on Santa Banta which you carry in your columns. And he replied in his customary one postcard, just 3 words, go to hell. And he never heard from them again. Letters also reminds me of once he got a letter from the West, somewhere abroad, and it only said, address was Kushwant Singh, no Mr., no nothing, Kushwant Singh, bastard, India. And it reached him. And he would show it to everyone with great glee and said, see, even the postal department of this country knows where I live. That was him. That was, because he would always, he knew how to poke fun at himself also, his community also, at others also. That was, I think, a great, because he could mix with the presidents and the kings and the queens and the prime ministers, and he could mix with the common man on the street equally well. I happened to travel with him quite a lot, overseas and in India, and knew how he felt about people. But on a more serious note, for the first fest when Rahul, Neelufar and I were about to leave Delhi next morning for Kasauli to make preparations for the first fest, and I said goodbye to him, and he just waved out and said, goodbye, all the best. I had just gone out of his apartment in Sujan Singh Park to my car when his cook Chandan came running and said, Saat bula rahe hain. So I went inside, and suddenly I saw he was a bit serious in those just 30 seconds. And I could see a slight mist in his eyes. And he stretched out his right hand, took my hand and said, I would like to dedicate this festival to the Indian soldier. Please see to it. Please see to it that the Indian soldier gets a standing ovation. And I think we need to honor that commitment to the Indian soldier. Mr. Kushwant Singh, wherever you be today, I'm sure you'll be very, very happy to see all of us here today. Thank you. We'll start with the first session. The inauguration is by Mr. Arun Shourie, who needs no introduction, and I'm sure all of you know him, so I won't waste any time because I know you're all very keen to listen to him. And Mr. Shatrughan Sinha, for example, never gets up early, but last night he said, I am coming only for this session in the morning. And he's here, he's made it on time. So has Vikram Seth made it here, who is so busy writing his book. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. Arun, can we have the honor of your coming up to the stage? The subject of Mr. Shourie's talk is going to be how to recognize rulers for what they are. It's not, basically we don't discuss politics out here, we only discuss about literature, books, authors. But in this particular case, Arun is going to talk about the book, the next book that is already being written. It's in the process of being written, and he will going to talk about it. And the leaders reminds me, Arun, if I have your permission, to just give one example from Kushwant Singh. Gyani Zail Singh had just been, he had just become the president, but he hadn't taken oath, so he was president-elect. And he once rang up Kushwant and said, "Ke main khana khana chana." So Kushwant invited him for dinner. With one condition, time is 7 o'clock. Since you will only have your glass of lassi or pani, you can come a bit late, but not after that. So Kushwant that day invited just a few friends who also knew Gyani Zail Singh, and some of the other I happened to be there. 7 o'clock, 7:15, 7:30, 7:45, no sign of Gyani ji. At 8 o'clock, he had a personal assistant at that time by the name of Avtar Singh. So Avtar Singh called and said, Gyani ji chalan wale hain, hune bas aa rahe hain. But Bibi ji, Kushwant's wife, immediately said, khana laga diyo. Because 8 o'clock drinking time is over. 8, 8:15, 8:30. Then Avtar said, Gyani ji gadi better lage. So he tells me, because I happen to pick up the phone, so he tells me, उन्होंने कह दिया जो kitchen बंद हो गया, उन किसी और वेले करा दे. And they said, no, he's coming. He says, no, the cook has also gone now. So that was Kushwant. I think I'll leave, there are many other incidents, but I think I'll leave it. In fact, Arun has quite a few of them, and I remember one of Jayalalitha, but I'll leave it to him to tell you all about that. Mr. Arun Shourie, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Friends, actually, everybody has a favorite experience with Mr. Kushwant Singh, and everybody has a favorite line of his, and everybody elaborates on them. And Ashok forgot one point in that. You see, when that letter came, it was actually from Norway, because it was from one of these terrorists who had escaped. When Kushwant was with his great bravery, he had taken such a strong stand against terrorism in Punjab. So, letter से कहा Kushwant Singh, the bastard India. तो पहुंच गया. तो Kushwant Singh जी ने postal department में phone किया कि there are so many Kushwant Singhs in India. How do you know that I am the only bastard? So everyone has these favorite lines of his. My personal favorite was that when he was asked, he had written once that he had been searching all his life for the elixir for youth, and had at last found that the only elixir for eternal youth is a reliable hair dye. And everyone has these experiences. He was narrating about Gyani ji. So I was in a bookshop, and so the bookseller asked me, आपने क्या कुशवंत सिंह जी की लेटेस्ट किताब खरीदी है? नहीं खरीदी, किस चीज पर है? कहते हैं सेक्स, स्कॉच एंड स्कॉलरशिप. तो मैं कहा अच्छा रुकिए, कहना नहीं सर, इट इज डेडिकेटेड टू योर वाइफ. His dedication was to Anita Shourie, the fairest of them all. So generally, he called us for dinner, and in those days he was a member of the Rajya Sabha, and the person sitting next to him used to be Jayalalitha. We were there at 7 o'clock, and Jayalalitha was much lighter at that time than we now sort of collectively remember her. And I was really struck by her intelligence and her articulateness. I mean, it was a surprise to me. So then she and my wife, who was also an absolutely ravishing beauty at that time, and Mrs. Kushwant Singh were talking, and Kushwant Singh, छोटा जा कमरा है, एक दूसरे से, you can hear what everybody is saying. Kushwant Singh looked at me and said, "Oh, पता मैं इन्हें क्यों बुलाया?" मैं कह नहीं, मैं पता नहीं. कहते हो इन दसवीं साढ़े को भी सोनी कुड़िया ने. पता नहीं समझ नहीं आया हिंदी. तो after just 15 seconds he said, "तेरे पता है तार सिर मेरा है?" He said, "I मैंने चिट्ठियाँ लिख दी है, 12 पेज की चिट्ठियाँ लिखी है राज्य सभा में. I can't even repeat to you what he said. उन चिट्ठियों में क्या था? Then he said कि मैं सोचा एक बार कि पब्लिश ही करते हो. मुझे फिर मैंने याद आया, there was a lady in Madras who had acid thrown on her. That civil servant, IAS officer. He said मैं फिर सोचा कि यार ये मुझे दाढ़ी क्यों acid बाकी करवाई. मैं वो तो कसौली रखी हुई है, पता नहीं उनमें है कि नहीं है. But There are favorite tales about him. I think once he wrote about, he was the publicity in charge at the Indian High Commission in London. And Panditji was visiting, and his job was to ensure maximum publicity. So he had given information as to where Panditji was staying in a hotel. And all the correspondents and photographers were there. But the person who emerged from the room was Lady Mountbatten. So Panditji was furious. And Kushwant Singh writes that I did not know why he was furious. My job was to ensure full publicity. I ensured full publicity. Now, is it a fact, or is it fiction, or is it faction? You never knew Mr. Kushwant Singh. Everyone also has his favorite grouse. And my grouse was with all his wit and humor and everything, kande bahut kache se. And one of these, and we were, I was naturally very fond of him and so on. And then my wife started getting unwell, and contacts became less and less. And then the publishers, thinking that we were good friends, sent one of my books to him. And he wrote a very nasty thing, which is just not true. One of these tale gatherers had told him, "Thoda dost Arun Shourie tha kehna ki wo masjid hi nahi hai, this Babri masjid. So isliye kabu kar lo." And then how he had cut me out and so on. I did not know of any of this. He could have easily asked, because I had actually been writing the opposite. Warning, saying that this place will be brought down precisely because it is a mosque. And please, therefore, don't bend to terrorists, don't bend to Shabano and all this. But in retrospect, these things seem so small. Firat ki ek couplet hai कि जोरो सितम को सब भूल कर तुम पहनो रहोगे तुम उदास. क्या मेरी क्रूअल्टीज और एंगर सबको भूल कर तुम दोपहर 4 पहर रहोगे तुम उदास. याद जब आएंगी मेरी शुक्रनुमा शिकायतें. So it is the same thing. And in that particular case about his writing that, I only felt in the end that he had violated his own rule, because he used to write nasty things about people only after they were dead. So he was once asked, "Why do you do this? Man has died and now you are writing this?" He said, "No, after they are dead, they are less liable to sue for defamation." So it is, but the subject that Ashok has assigned to me is because we had one thing in common, I feel, and that was that we made 1 or 2 big mistakes. In his case, I don't know if he felt in the end that it was a mistake, but his support for the emergency and his support for Sanjay Gandhi. And in my case, I've said publicly that I've made 2 very great mistakes. Once in supporting Mr. VP Singh, and once in supporting Mr. Narendra Modi. And these are my 2 great mistakes. So I will now like to address the question as to how much settlement रहेगा बोलूँगा तो वो मुझे बंद कर यार. Because so how to guard yourself against such mistakes? I think the first rule to remember in India is that it is much safer to warn people about a potential leader than to support him. Because if you warn people, he will always live up to your warnings. But if you support him, he will always disappoint you because he will not display the virtues which you saw in him. And very often we do this because of our disgust with the present situation. I remember Rajiv Gandhi had so many 326 criminal cases and raids and so on against us in the Indian Express when we were doing this Gophers business. And so we were so fed up. We started supporting him, and we regretted for the rest of our lives because VP Singh enacted this Mandal business. And Chandrasekhar had rung up my good friend Chopra Ramaswamy, saying, your friend Arun Shourie is supporting VP Singh, warn him, I know him, he is the most opportunistic fellow. You should never support him, warn your fellow, stop him. So Chandrasekhar says it. He had a very high regard for Chandrasekhar. Chandrasekhar said, so you stop it. I said, Joe, there is a Russian proverb that when your house is on fire, you can't wait for Ganges water. You have to do with municipal water. So Joe said, but are you sure it is not petrol? तो वही हुआ, अपील यही हुआ कि डॉक्टर साहब की, we felt that he had abdicated his authority and we all got so upset. और आज ये सिचुएशन है कि सब डॉक्टर साहब को याद करते हैं. मैं जब वो थे, मैंने 6 महीने के बाद ही मोदी की वो थे एक फंक्शन में, तो मैंने कहा था, किसी ने पूछा कि भाई व्हाट डू यू से अबाउट द सिचुएशन टुडे? लेकिन दैट कैन बी डिस्क्राइब्ड इन वन सेंटेंस. अब लोग डॉक्टर साहब को याद करने लग गए. तुझे जो मर्जी कह रहा हो, कोई बंदा सियाना सी. So in that situation we must not, as they say, you should be very careful for what you wish for, because it may come true and you may then regret it. I think there's not the time about this, but one of the things we must always remember is that don't go by what these fellows say now. Go by what they have been saying in the past. Secondly, believe that, because that is what they will do when they come to office. This delusion that no, office will tame them, no, there will be intelligent people around them who will tame them. Look at what's happening in America with Trump. No, office brings about its, rounds off corners on its own and so on. Believe them that they will implement what they have been saying for a long time. And actually don't even go by what they are saying. See by what they have been doing and what they have condoned other people doing. So that's very important for the future. And when claims are made about them, please examine them in great detail. I think this was one of the great failures of our newspapers, of people like me and others who did not examine the claims about the Gujarat model. अब याद आ रहा है कि अरे यार ये तो था नहीं. That it was an event management. For instance, everybody is always surprised that these Gujarat vibrant summits, 10 लाख करोड़ प्रॉमिस हो गए इन्वेस्टमेंट के, 15 लाख करोड़ हो गए. In all the 9 summits, it took 3 years for an organization to find out that of those pledges which were announced and proclaimed as great successes, what proportion was resulted in actual investment. Can anybody guess? 6%. 6%. But it was termed as a success. So the same thing now. It's become a habit. The other day I had to recall an interview of Mr. Modi for a long, in which he said, an early interview, in which the interviewer asking him कि सर आप को बहुत शौक है, कि किन चीज़ों का शौक है? उन्हें मुझे ट्रैकिंग का बहुत शौक था. तो कहाँ ट्रैक करते थे आप? पहाड़ों का बहुत शौक है. एकांत, शांत, प्रकृति. इसे तो आप तो बहुत ऊंचाई पर गए होंगे. इसे हाँ, एवरेस्ट को 29,000 फुट, मैं 25,000 तक गया था. टहलते टहलते चप्पलों में 25,000 पहुंच गए. So I asked the person the other day, do you know how many peaks there are in India which are more than 25,000 feet? She didn't know. It's not Everest because that's in Nepal, not K2 or Nanga Parbat, that's in Pakistan, not Nanda Devi because that is shorter. I'm sure he did not know. But he said it. There's only one peak, that's Kanchenjunga, and if he had climbed that in chappals, it would certainly be in the annals of the Indian Mountaineering Institute, situated next door in Darjeeling. But we checked the record, not there. So we have to believe and you have to look at these traits. That's the main point. Not what they say now, what they have been saying for a long time. Secondly, not what they say, but what they are doing. and what they've condoned other people to do, and then what are the traits of their character, because that character is what will assert itself sooner or later, and it will become the character of the government, and therefore of the great influence that that government will have on the affairs of the country. And for instance, on this business of koi bhi figure de do, every report, including the economic survey of the government, of the Ministry of Finance, Reserve Bank, Center for the Monitoring of the Indian Economy, State Bank of India annual report, they say we jobs nahi create ho rahe. In fact, between January and April, they say that 1.5 million jobs were lost. And they had promised to create 2 crore jobs per year. But 4 days ago, full-page ads, Chandigarh mein bhi aaye honge, certainly Delhi ke papers mein the, that by mudra alone, the government has created 5.5 crore jobs. कहाँ है? मतलब कैसे गायब हो जाते हैं? ये गोगिया पाशा का जादू, 5.5 करोड़ चीज क्रिएट हुई और आपको दिखी नहीं रही. So you have to see the character, and one of the main points to watch in the character is the adherence to truth. If that is not there, then many other things will follow. Is he a man of his word? Never believe that something that is being said by persons close to him is not being said by him. Such leaders are ventriloquists. Trump, look at it, it's the extreme right which is saying it. No. Why would he allow the extreme right to say it? He can't be shutting the mouth of every fellow. But his ministers say that you can't have it both ways. That he knows everything but does not know what they are doing. That he can control everybody but he can't control these fellows from what they are saying. So, and it is a sort of division of labor. और लोग कहते रहेंगे deniability, he will only talk, he means Trump, anybody will talk, always think I'm talking about Trump. Any resemblance to present situation is only in your imagination. So what will happen is that they, and when, this is a sort of orchestrated thing always. You say this, then you can deny it, you can distance yourself if that balloon doesn't fly. Or after 2-3 months, when that slogan or when that sentiment has run its course and brought you the political dividends that you wanted to get out of it, then you make some oracular statement. Motherhood is good. We should all love each other. Gautam Buddha said, हमारा culture ये रहा है. People think we have to give, ये देखो और क्या कैसा है. But by that time, कुछ पानी निचोड़ना था, वो उसमें से निकाल दिया. And I think one other problem is that we never think, we underestimate them. We underestimate their mendacity, their ruthlessness, their determination. And this is especially the problem with decent people. Because decent people always think here, सभी हमारे जैसे, इतना तो बुरा नहीं हो सकता. That is an underestimation. And one should never fall for this. And the second reason why we don't accept those things, we don't want to see them, is because if we see them, then we have to change our conduct in regard to them. We have then to stand up. That's the last thing we want to do. हमारा एक कल शोभा को बता रहा था कि इब्न इंशा पाकिस्तान के एक शायर होते थे, तो उनका था कि हमारा जो कल्चर है वो ये है कि हक अच्छा, ट्रूथ इज गुड, राइटियसनेस इज गुड, हक अच्छा, इसके लिए कोई और मरे तो और अच्छा. So that attitude, and that attitude you cannot sustain if you face the fact, yes, this fellow is a mortal danger to the values for which I stand. So all these things, but there are four features, and there is not enough time now to go through them. But one is this narcissism. We always think the person has a great ego. Wrong. Ego has some strength, but narcissism by definition is fragile. Why? Because narcissist knows that he is not as beautiful as he thinks. So he has to always reassure himself by keeping on looking in the river. So these people also require assurance all the time. You know, this Ashish Nandi once told me that Casanova has to reassure himself every evening that he can still conquer. So they require repeated reaffirmation. And one of the ways of this is to always keep knocking in. No, हम कहते हैं भाई वो लोगों को उछाल देता है, मिनिस्टरों को वो करता है, insecure रखता है, etc. That's not what you call inconveniencing the minister so much as reassuring himself that Trump, I can fire, I can say that my Secretary of State he's wasting his time. And that Secretary of State said that fellow is a moron. But both continue. But the narcissist is this insecurity, which is very different from merely an ego. The second is Machiavellianism. This attitude towards everybody and everything and every occasion as an instrument. कि भाई इसका प्रयोग क्या हो सकता है? What use can I make of this person or of this occasion? So उत्तराखंड में वो लैंडस्लाइड आ गई. सडनली ख्याल आया कि चलो वहाँ, and suddenly 1.5 दिन के बाद प्रेस आगे चीजें कि भाई न्यूज स्टोरीज आ गई, टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया हर जगह कि 15,000 गुजरातियों को बचा लिया. वो एयरफोर्स वालों ने कहा, आर्मी वालों ने कहा कि 15,000 तो व्हीकल आ ही नहीं सकती थी वहां से जहां से लोग फंसे हुए थे. मगर and then you can always say I never said it. तो मीडिया वालों ने कहा भैया. So this deniability, but this idea of how to use it. You remember that Pavan will remember with his good memory of that fire in the temple in Kerala recently. ना कितने लोग मर गए थे. But immediately you arrive, and with the mandatory photographer, not seeing what infections you can cause to persons suffering 50%, 75% burns. But the point is occasion. What use can I make of this thing? It's like that pushing Zuckerberg aside. क्योंकि नहीं वो कैमरा इधर है. So that is a feature of Machiavellianism. And the last feature is of what's called sociopathy. I don't want to use the word that the psychologists use. You will think that I am really abusing. But it's sociopathy. Sociopathy, the essential point about sociopathy is remorselessness. You don't feel sorry for anything that you have done because you have convinced yourself you are working only for the greater cause. Trump is only working for the greater, for his country. So he's never sorry for anything that he does. Of the use he makes of persons, of the way he discards them. No, I'm doing it for a greater purpose. Actually, I am the one who has done a favor. Who would have cared for him? I gave him the opportunity to be part of history. So you think he should be obliged to you. He knows you should be obliged to him. And this is then compounded, these three things then are compounded by a sense of victimhood. If you see, Trump is always complaining about how people are, against him and how the media is trying to denounce him and all this. इधर भी कि demonetization के बाद मुझे कितने जुल्म सहने पड़े. और कहते कि साहब किस पीछे है कि भाई लोग मुझे मार भी दें, जान से भी मार दें, मैं दलितों को ये सेवा करने से नहीं चूकूंगा. फिर कौन कह रहा है मार देंगे? But it is not a rhetoric. This is a belief, because victimhood then allows you to victimize anybody else. why should I be suspicious of everybody? Of a gentle fellow like Vikram said. Why? Because everybody is devious, so I must be devious. Everybody is out to get me. Therefore, I must get him before he gets me. It justifies everything. So there are a lot of such traits, but the time is, he's put such a big clock here, Ashok with his sense of discipline, so the only point I want to make in the end is, please open your eyes. Open your eyes in time. With every passing day, these things become very difficult to deal with. It was said about Mussolini that Mussolini's goons were nothing without the state, but with the state they were everything. So you have to preempt that situation. And because the normal channels will no longer be available, cabinet is frightened, the party has been in effect abolished and silenced. Not one person can raise a question. Parliament has been rendered irrelevant. You see the way the Rajya Sabha was made irrelevant just by a small thing. Ye to 15 money bill. Hey, there's no basis for that. But you have reduced the Parliament to a state assembly. State assemblies are irrelevant. Parliament is now irrelevant. So with each passing day, please see what is happening. And therefore, the normal channels for dealing with the situation from now on will not be available. Just see what has happened to the media. Other than one channel and other than one newspaper, only the northern part of the newspaper, nobody else is telling the truth. So, we must all now exert to form to devise other methods for getting the facts across. And my appeal to all these other fellows is, forget these joint programs and all that you want. You know, Yashwant Sinha can write a joint program in his sleep in 5 minutes. कितनी बार हमने joint program लिखे? 1977 से तो मैं भी लिख रहा हूँ. So don't wait for joint programs. Have only one program. One point. Be Arjun, only the eye of that. See only that. What is that one-point program? Only whether it is a student election, university election, MLA election, parliament election, only one candidate against a BJP candidate. One. ये सब लोग कहते हैं ना, no, कुछ ना कुछ हो जाएगा. It is not possible to fool all the people all the time. I've always regarded that as too optimistic a view. It is not necessary to fool all the people all the time. You only have to fool 31% of the people for 3 minutes. Thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you, Arun. I will be the first one to buy your next book. Our next session is going to be